Lights, camera, action. Welcome back to Flick Flash. Blanka Lipińska is a Polish novelist who has published 3 erotic romance books in the 365 Days series. International recognition for the series was particularly achieved with the Netflix release of the first book's cinematic adaptation. Here is a synopsis and explanation of the 3 films. Following a meeting between black market sellers and the Triology Sicilian mafia criminal family, Massimo Triology is seen admiring a stunning woman on a beach. Massimo is also wounded when his father, the head of the Sicilian mafia family, is unexpectedly shot and killed. After 5 years, Massimo has assumed control of the Triology criminal family and is now a merciless and aggressive boss. Firebrand Laura Beale, an executive in Warsaw, is not content with her lover Martin since he rejects her advances for sex. Laura is in Italy to celebrate her 29th birthday with friends. However, after Martin makes fun of her, she leaves for a stroll and meets Massimo, who abducts her without warning. Laura finds out at Massimo's villa that she was the lady he saw on the beach 5 years prior, and it's all he could think about while he was hurt. He had to have her after looking for her for years and eventually seeing her at the airport. He plans to hold her captive for 365 days, or a year, until she develops feelings for him, promising her an everlasting life of luxury. He shows her pictures of Martin's adultery, threatens her family, and claims that a breakup letter was sent to Martin on her behalf while she attempts to flee. While he touches her without permission, he tells her that he won't do so in the future. Having no way out, Laura caves in. As they spend more time together over the course of the following 2 months, a resentful and enraged Laura teases him by dressing provocatively in lingerie. She does, nonetheless, gradually get him to talk about his private life. When she taunts him once again at a Rome hotel, he ties her handcuffs to the bed. She is made to see Massimo having oral sex with a different lady. Later, as he touches Laura's body, it seems like she's giving in. But he pauses, lets her go, and tells her to get ready for a club. Laura enrages Massimo by showing off for him and his pals at the club. A guy from the opposing mafia family approaches her and makes unwanted sexual advances. Laura is led out of the club as Massimo and the others pull out guns. Laura wakes up on a yacht the next morning to see Massimo and Mario, another mafioso, fighting. Massimo shot the man's hand who had approached Laura throughout the night, sparking a mafia feud between the 2 families. Massimo declines Mario's insistence that he get rid of Laura. Laura makes an effort to apologize, but Massimo holds her accountable for the event. Laura gets into a heated argument with him while she's in the water, which makes her panic and makes her believe she's going to drown. Massimo then lunges in to save her. He acknowledges that he was afraid she might not survive and that he does not want to lose her when she wakes up. She starts to fall in love with him at that point, as a montage of their several sex moments on the boat shows. Laura is permitted by Massimo to see her Warsaw relatives. He declares his love for her and his intention to join her once work is done. Laura waits for Massimo in Warsaw for days on end without speaking to him. After they reunite, she goes partying with Olga, her best friend. When she runs into Martin, he tells her that he has been waiting for her to clarify the photos and offer an apology. After chasing her back to her flat, where Massimo is unanticipatedly waiting, he tries to talk her into making amends. He bids Martin farewell. Laura hits Massimo, furious at being left behind. She lifts his shirt during their sexual encounter and discovers mafia war wounds. She tells him that she is in love with him. Massimo asks her out the next morning, and she says yes. She does, however, request that he conceal his occupation from her parents. Mario tells Massimo that tensions are escalating back in Italy. Laura recalls feeling ill one day but says she doesn't think she needs to see a doctor. They talk about how her family isn't permitted to attend their planned wedding since she doesn't want them to find out what Massimo does. Massimo does let Olga attend Laura's wedding as a bridesmaid, though. Laura admits she is pregnant when Olga pays her a visit. Olga begs her to disclose the pregnancy to Massimo. A rival mafia family is preparing to assassinate Laura, according to a call Mario gets in the meantime from an informant named Torricelli. Laura's automobile goes into a tunnel, but it does not emerge. Mario abruptly stops Laura's phone and heads out to see Massimo. Massimo breaks down upon realizing the consequences as a police cruiser honks at the tunnel's entrance. Top sexual experiences in the first film. Massimo and Laura ultimately get married in 365 days. This day, everything was fine until Laura began to notice that the love in their marriage was disappearing. The pair had sex practically everywhere in the process, and that was the only thing keeping their relationship alive. Laura believes he is keeping him in prison by not allowing her to do what she desires. She believes she is now merely a wife with nothing to do. Massimo admits his error, and over their Christmas dinner with friends and family, Massimo explains that Laura will now be the owner of her own fashion label. Laura beams and announces that his gift will be delivered later that evening. When Netflix's Polish version of 50 Shades of Grey appeared in 2020, it was a huge hit, making a sequel all but inevitable. 365 days. This day, the sequel is finally here, providing, well, more of the same, to be honest. But In addition to continuing the plot, it's also attempting to raise the stakes, address some of the previous film's more problematic themes, and wring enough drama from the premise and characters to make a third and maybe fourth film profitable for the streaming giant. So, let's take a look at what happens, why it happens, and where it can all lead in the near future. At the very least, things start out on an even keel. Laura and Massimo are married, and despite the fact that she lost her unborn child in the car accident at the end of the previous film, she hasn't told her new husband she is pregnant. The early scenes of the film are mostly concerned with two things. One, inverting the power dynamics so that Laura is in charge of the relationship, and the second, illustrating that the life of a mafia don's wife isn't especially fulfilling. Both of these items are required. The first film drew a lot of justifiable criticism for its rapey kidnapping premise, so this sequel is quick to point out how bad it all was. But Laura stayed with Massimo by her own volition. However, we must see how dissatisfied she is with her life in order to see the appeal of Nacho, Massimo's humble and hilariously attractive gardener. Almost every romantic sequel ever created has a love rival, and Massimo's is Nacho. However, there's a little more to it. Despite her flirtation with Nacho, Laura does not see him again until later, when she witnesses Massimo having sex with his ex-girlfriend, Anna. Nacho happens to be outside when she walks out the door, and he whisks her away to the safety and secrecy of his beachside shack. Laura doesn't query how a gardener can afford the home until later, after we've already seen Laura fall for Nacho's charm, cuisine, and knowledge of secret hideaway coves in several endless sequences. There is practically no plot for the whole middle section of the film, save from a couple of moments of Massimo looking anxious. Was Laura betrayed by Massimo? Following the aforementioned event, the couple attends a party where they appear to demonstrate that there is a problem between them. Massimo departs for a business meeting, while Laura speaks with her parents. Laura is keeping an eye out for Massimo while everyone dances with their partners. Massimo is seen in the passage above the ballroom, but he is taken aback when he sees him entering the room with none other than Anna. Laura pursued them and discovered them having sex with one another. Anna notices her and grins, while Massimo continues to ignore Laura's presence. She exits the party and is ready to go out the door when she is stopped by Nacho, the new gardener she met a few days previously. She had a talk with him at the time and felt he was a decent man. Laura instructs him to go somewhere far away in the current circumstance. Laura thinks she's a fool for trusting Massimo. She contacts her mother and informs her that she would be gone for a long time and that she is safe. Massimo, on the other hand, is very concerned about what has occurred. But here's where the tale thickens. Massimo and Anna are seen sitting together, and Anna says that Laura is unaware that Massimo has a twin brother. Yes, Anna and Massimo's twin brother Adriano devised a scheme to exact vengeance on Massimo. Laura, on the other hand, leaves the place, thus their plan fails. Nacho brings Laura to his home and looks after her well. Laura dreams of having sex with Nacho after spending a wonderful evening with him, but her fantasy is shattered when someone barges into Nacho's home. Laura hugs Nacho as he takes care of the problem. Nacho brings her to a remote beach the next day, where they spend some quality time together. They appeared to have affections for each other. Laura had another erotic dream about Nacho and her having sex, but it wasn't simply kissing this time. Laura awakens unexpectedly and tells Nacho about her dream. As a result, they get closer. Massimo meets Anna since he doesn't know where Laura is. He learns that she is behind it all, but he has no proof. Finally, she receives a video on his phone from Laura, via which he learns where she is. Nacho, it turns out, comes from a family that is Massimo's business adversary. Nacho's father believes Massimo has expanded its wings too far and has made business difficult for them. Massimo expresses his want to visit his wife right away. Nacho's father claims she is okay and in the company of his security. Nacho claims to be with another person. Massimo and Nacho collaborate to resurrect her. Laura is inside an abandoned warehouse when she notices Massimo approaching her. She inquires as to why he deceived her, but upon seeing his demeanor, she knows she is not conversing with Massimo. Adriano explains that he is Massimo's twin brother and that he has always wanted to avenge Massimo for not getting what he deserved. Anna made her arrival as well, and she was preparing to shoot Laura. Massimo and Nacho also make it there. During the conversation, Massimo learns Laura's darkest secret, which she never told him before. He learns that Laura was previously pregnant and suffered a miscarriage in the accident shown in the first film. Laura, with tears in his eyes, manages to free himself from Adriano's bindings. Anna shoots her and the bullet passes through her abdomen as she sprints for Massimo. Nacho fires at Anna, while Massimo fires at Adriano. Massimo cries as she holds Laura in her arms at the end of the film. It's still uncertain if Laura died or not, given the first film's ending implied that she had died, yet she reappeared. Have survived the horrific This Day ending. The events of the sequel undoubtedly had a significant negative effect on Laura and Massimo's relationship. Massimo doesn't seem to be able to let go, despite Laura's best efforts and her instruction to Nacho to forget her. Obviously, Laura and Massimo still have occasional sex, but since their argument at the end of the first movie over Laura not informing Massimo she had lost their baby, They are a world apart. Massimo with his mafia life and Laura with her fashion company both vanish into their job. Laura travels to Portugal with Olga to attend the Lagos fashion show, where she meets Emilia, Nacho's sister. Her argument that Nacho is not a nasty guy and is only devoted to his father convinces Laura to allow Nacho some time to explain himself. Nacho and Laura are reunited, and after Nacho confesses his love to Laura, the scene concludes as you might anticipate with a protracted bonk on the beach. Nacho is content to let Laura make her own decisions. In contrast to Massimo, even worse, he claims that by killing Anna at the conclusion of the sequel because you love him, he was able to spare Massimo's life. I don't want my joy to come at the expense of your pain. I hope you'll desire me. I'll wait here until you're prepared. Laura is informed by Nacho, who assures her that he will give her enough time to make up her mind. Massimo is waiting for Laura at her hotel, but he decides to go for Sicily to give Laura some space, maybe as a show of his maturity. When she sees her parents, she tells them she loves Nacho and that she doesn't know what to do. She is advised by her mother to be selfish in a relationship, and to put your own pleasure first if she wants the union to endure. Olga forewarns Laura that Massimo is aware of her sexy times with Nacho after they have a fantasy threesome in which they both kiss. Laura then returns to Sicily. Olga urges her to flee, but Laura claims Massimo won't frighten her. When Laura returns to Sicily, she is in for a surprise since Nacho has assumed the identity of her driver by disguising himself. She informs him that she still needs more time after he pours out his heart to her and discusses their prospective future together. Nacho responds, "I'll wait," and they part ways at her home. Massimo is waiting for Laura on the beach, but he seems strangely philosophical rather than enraged. He was aware of Nacho all along and regrets that Laura thought she had to cope with their baby's death alone rather than confiding in him, that you had to deal with it all alone. It has broken me. My dad used to read me a book when I was a kid. I still recall one phrase from a brief fable. At the time, I didn't truly comprehend it, but I do now. If you truly love something, let it go, was the advice. If it returns, it is always yours. If not, it was never intended to be, he remembers. Massimo looks wistfully at Laura after she tells him that he had a great father and that he will be one day. Are you back, darling girl? He wonders. The end of that. What Laura has decided remains a mystery. And the 365 Days film trilogy concludes with this open-ended question. It is totally up to you whether you believe Laura chose to stay single, went back to Nacho, or opted to try again with Massimo. The trilogy's conclusion is very different from that of the novel series it was based on. There are many different things happening in that third novel, such as a dead dog, another kidnapping, and a heart transplant. The only true similarity, in fact, is that Laura has a motorcycle, just like in the movie. Even though Massimo keeps Laura against her will, drugs her, and tries to make her pregnant, the novel concludes with Laura choosing to be with Nacho. In that case, it's not all that surprising that she and Nacho managed to flee. While Massimo has given up and accepted to a divorce, the epilogue reveals that they had a daughter together. If that were the alternative, we'd prefer this movie trilogy's confusing finale to that any day. Could this imply that a fourth 365 Days film is on the way? Don't rule it out if the next 365 days becomes successful. Will Laura pick Massimo or Nacho? That is the question, after all, isn't it? On the one hand, Nacho has been encouraging of Laura's path and obviously cares about her well-being. It gets even more complicated since he lied about his past and is a rival mobster. Massimo, meantime, has been poisonous, domineering, and terrible news from the first movie. In a perfect world, Laura would pick neither and go off into the sunset by herself. But if we had to guess, Nacho would undoubtedly be her choice. This decision may then start a significant gang war before casting Nacho as a vengeful villain and returning to Massimo. Unfortunately, this film won't provide any answers, so I suppose we'll just have to wait and see what this continuous series has in store for us next. Thank you once again for being a part of Flick Flash. Until next time, keep watching, keep exploring, and keep that movie and TV magic alive. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more exciting recaps. This is Flick Flash, signing off.